Welcome into the Saints Insider Podcast Postgame Show. I'm Zach Ewing, live here at the Caesars Superdome after the Saints' 28-19 preseason loss to the Denver Broncos. Feel free to leave your comments, your questions live on the air, and we'll show them and get to them as we can. My man Spencer Urquhart behind the glass will be behind the virtual glass. Will be sending me those comments as we go forward. Can show some of them on the air, can read them for you, all of that good stuff. Saints lose 28-19 here. We'll also be joined later by Times-Picayune writers Luke Johnson and Matthew Paris, and our columnists Rod Walker and Jeff Duncan. They will give their thoughts on today's game. They will give their thoughts on the preseason, and they will give their thoughts on the quarterback competition between Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shough. And I guess we can start right there with the quarterbacks. I still do not know that we have a clear answer. I know we don't have a clear answer as to which of these guys is going to start at quarterback for the 2025 New Orleans Saints when things get going for real in 15 days' time against the Arizona Cardinals on September the 7th right here at the Superdome. I do know that neither guy has been all that impressive, and that includes today. Tyler Shough did lead a touchdown drive. He ran for a touchdown against the Broncos, third stringers, maybe fourth stringers in the fourth quarter. That cut the Broncos lead to 22-19. The Saints they cut the Broncos lead to 22-16, and the Saints did get the ball back after that in good field position, but instead of letting Shough have another chance, they just gave the rest of the game at that point to Jake Haener, and Jake Haener led the short touchdown drive, or a short field goal drive, to cut it to 22-19. Then the Broncos come down and score on a 4th and goal play with just a couple of minutes left for the 28-19 final. So Shough didn't get a chance to do what Spencer Rattler did last week in a game-tying or game-winning drive. But ultimately, I mean, look, this is as close as it gets. We've got the numbers for today up there on the screen. Rattler started, so he was facing the Denver Broncos' first-team defense, and that's one of the best defenses in the NFL. So keep that in mind, just like Shough faced a lot of Jaguar starters last week. Rattler was 5 of 8 for just 43 yards today. He took 1 sack. He did not turn the ball over. He only ran 1 time for no yards. It was on like a kind of a little half tush push that didn't work for the Saints. So, his number's not impressive. He threw the ball behind Rashid Shaheed on a kind of a post route up the seam that could have been a really big gain if he had hit Shaheed in stride. In fact, it could have been like a 40-yard touchdown. And you also could say Shaheed probably should have caught that ball. He kind of turned behind him, got his hands on it, couldn't come up with it. But even if he catches that, he's probably not running for a touchdown. If the pass was on the right side of him, he would have run, I think, at least inside the 10-yard line, and with his speed may have scored. And look, if that happens, I'll ask the guys what they think when they come out. But if that happens, it's possible Spencer Rattler wins the job right there. I hate to make it come down to one play, but you have an opportunity for a big play against a first-team defense from the Denver Broncos and missed him. Maybe it was second-team defense at that point. The Broncos may have substituted some guys. Can't remember exactly, but he missed him. It was, no, just an incomplete pass. Spencer Rattler settles for, I think, 2 field goals in the first half. Then Tyler Shough comes in. He gets a field goal in the first half, and he does eventually lead the touchdown drive in the second half that ends with his running touchdown. And so Tyler Shough's final numbers, 12 of 20 for 102 yards passing. He took a sack. He also ran twice for 20 yards and the touchdown. That's something we hadn't seen from him, was using his legs. That had been Spencer Rattler for most of the preseason, but today it was Tyler Shough, 2 carries, 20 yards, and the 11-yard touchdown. He also had the only turnover of the day. He sacked and fumbled right before he led that touchdown drive. And so that's kind of a negative mark for Tyler Shough. So I don't know. If you're Kellen Moore, what would you do? I honestly don't know what I would do. I was kind of leaning toward Rattler coming into today's game, and I guess I still am. Just by default, maybe Spencer Rattler has won the job. But I don't think I would blame Kellen Moore for turning to the rookie and saying, hey, this is your team, this is your offense, let's go at this point either. Let's go see what you've got. So I'm still torn on it. I don't know which way we're going to see. I guess I'm leaning about 60-40 to Spencer Rattler, saying it'll just be his job to start. And then we're probably going to see Tyler Shough at some point after that. But I don't know. It's close, man. And I'm going to give you their numbers from the preseason all together here. I'm going to call these up as we are live here on the Saints Insider post-game show. And here are the final preseason numbers for the Saints quarterbacks. Spencer Rattler, 30 of 43 for 295 yards. Tyler Shough, 36 of 53 for 333 yards. So Shough had 10 more attempts. He had 6 more completions. He had 38 more yards. Both Rattler and Shough had 1 passing touchdown. Both Rattler and Shough had 1 interception. Both Rattler and Shough lost 1 fumble. So it is. Now, Tyler Shough did have a rushing touchdown. Other than that, Spencer Rattler, I don't have the rushing numbers here, but he did rush for more yards, I think, in the preseason altogether. So it is as even could possibly be between these guys. Spencer Rattler faced the first teamers for the Broncos today. Tyler Shough faced the first teamers for the Jaguars last week. I don't think the Chargers in the first preseason game, I don't think the Chargers played very many starters at all. So, there's from the preseason games, there's really nothing to separate these two. I would say in practice, Spencer Rattler has generally been better. He's generally run more reps with the first team. That's why I'm 60-40 Rattler right now. But I don't know, man. Guys, usually at this point, you have a pretty good idea, even before the announcement, of who is going to win a quarterback competition. I don't know. And I think anybody who says they know, who isn't Colin Moore or Doug Nussmeier or Scott Tolzien, I don't think anybody knows. Mark Guercio, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your last name, but you said Rattler is not it. I mean, he didn't look very good today. The Denver defense is legitimately very good. I think Denver has a top 5 defense in the NFL, maybe a top 3 defense in the NFL. So it was always going to be tough going up against these guys. And he finishes, 5 of 8, 43 yards. Again, like that, you talk about Chris Olave dropping a Tyler Shough throw and saying, man, you hate to make it on one throw, but how much of a difference would that be? How much of a difference would it be if he hits Rashid Shaheed in stride on that play? It goes for a 42-yard touchdown or whatever it would have been. And instead of 5 of 8 for 43 yards, we're saying he was 6 of 8 for 80-something yards and a touchdown. I think we're having a different conversation at that point. On the other side of the coin, Tyler Shough, he was consistently too high with his throws on the first few drives he was in. That got better. The touchdown drive, I think he was a lot more on target. But yeah, he was throwing the ball way too high. He missed an open receiver, threw it over his head. He was operating obviously with with the second and third string offense against the second and third string defense of the Denver Broncos. So really hard to grade these two guys, but they're going to have to do it. Next game is the Arizona Cardinals in week 1. So at some point you've got to make the call. I will say there were some conversations in the press box about the Saints going out and signing a veteran quarterback or trading for a veteran quarterback and saying, look, you clearly don't have it. Either one of these guys getting it done. But it may be too late to do that. I mean, let's just throw out the name Kirk Cousins. Okay, let's say the Falcons are willing to part with Kirk Cousins for a low draft pick. They want to get him out of Atlanta. You can get him in here. I mean, he's probably better than Shough and Rattler, but you're giving him 2 weeks to learn the playbook, and you're probably stunting the development of your rookie Tyler Shough at that point, not giving him time. I just don't know if that's a good idea. I'm curious to know what everybody thinks about that, but it feels like a tough sell for me at this point to give up another draft pick if you already gave up a couple of them for Devon Vele this week, who did not play in this game, by the way. Devon Vele was stressed out and warming up, but he did not play. Most of the Saints starters did play on both sides of the ball. We'll kind of talk about that a little bit. Alvin Kamara started and played 1 snap. He play fake handoff, and Spencer Rattler threw to the other side, completed to Olave on the first play of the game, and then Alvin Kamara left the game and didn't play anymore. So he had 1 play. And then it was Kendry Miller, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Cam Akers a little bit, Velus Jones a little bit at running back. Thought Kendry Miller looked pretty good. Starting offensive line was out there, such as it is. Eric McCoy saw his first action of the preseason. Of course, Trevor Penning was not out there. We did also see another O-line injury with your swing tackle. Landon Young goes out. He was carted off. No official word on that, but if he's carted off and they called for the cart almost right away, I cannot imagine that is a short-term situation. So I think you lost another reserve offensive lineman in addition to already being down Will Clapp, who's out for the season, in addition to already being without Nick Saldiveri, who is out for the season, and in addition to being without one of your starters in Trevor Penning, at least for a couple of weeks of the regular season. I don't know if he is, the turf toe is kind of a nasty thing. It could be a few weeks. It could be, we'll see on that situation. But you're already down several offensive linemen from your depth chart. And I really think that when rosters are cut down to 53 on Tuesday across the NFL, that the Saints will be scouring other teams' cuts and practice squads and looking for some help at that position, especially at swing tackle without Landon Young. You got to have something. They went and got Luke Fortner, who played today. He'll be one of the backup centers, although we saw Shane Lemieux play a lot at center today. You have Torricelli Simpkins, who's looked pretty good at guard. Maybe Fortner plays some guard as well. So you're okay on the interior. I don't know. And the backup tackles in this team, I'm not sure they've ever played a regular season snap in the NFL and without Landon Young on that depth chart. So, and you're starting, a rookie in Kelvin Banks and a second-year guy in Tali Fuanga, very talented guys, but you need some kind of depth there at tackle, and the Saints just don't have it. So I think they will scour those cuts from other teams and those practice squads, on Tuesday after rosters are cut down. And I don't think there's any question about that. Speaking of cutdown day, it's coming for the Saints too, and they will need to have their roster down to 53 by 3 o'clock on Tuesday. It does not need to be those same 53 when they suit up against the Cardinals 10 days later or 12 days later. There's lots of things they can do. They can put guys on IR. You don't want to put them, if you put them on the PUP list at the beginning of the season, it's at least 6 weeks they have to sit out. If you can sneak them on the 53 and then shift them to IR, it's only a 4-week period that they're out. So I think you'll see, that could be a Trevor Penning. We'll see about the tight ends, Foster Moreau, Taysom Hill. I'm guessing maybe PUP to start the year, and they're still more than 6 weeks away. But we could see that. Don't know yet about Alontae Taylor and his groin injury. Don't know yet about Tali Fuanga. He also didn't play today. Kellen Moore described that issue as minor. He missed practice Thursday, didn't play today. That could just be a rest situation. If I had to guess, Fuanga will be he will be good to go for the opener. A couple of comments here. Rusham, or let's see, Brian Bradshaw, is Taysom Hill healthy to start the season? No, he is not. He will not be. He didn't suit up today. We have not seen him yet. I think even if he's ready to start working out, you're still several weeks away from game action for him. And I don't think he's ready to do that yet. I think we're still a few weeks away from him maybe returning to the practice field, and then it'll be a couple weeks after that. So I would expect mid-season maybe for Taysom Hill. He's not going to be ready. Rusham Apparel says, I would go with Rattler to start, eventually move Tyler up when he is ready. I find that to be the most likely scenario. I think Rattler starts. We've all talked about the Saints' difficult schedule to start. They open with the Cardinals, which is not the most difficult game in the world, but they're 5.5-point underdogs. I mean, it's not an easy game either. Then you welcome in the San Francisco 49ers, poised for a bounce-back season for them. Then you go on the road to Seattle, a tough place to play. Then you got to come back home and go all the way in the other direction to Buffalo, one of the best teams in the NFL in week 4. So it's a very difficult schedule to start. And I could see Spencer Rattler getting that 4-game audition. All right, kid, you lost all 6 games last year. Let's put you out there with starters, with your starting O-line around you, with your starting receivers around you, and see if you can look a little bit better, see how it goes. If it goes well in those first 4 games, Spencer Rattler may keep the job for a while. If it does not go well, then you have kind of a softer landing zone with the Giants and the Patriots in weeks 5 and 6 coming in here to the Dome. And it seems like a pretty good spot for me to have those guys, to have Tyler Shough come in and start his first career games, if that's the route you go. I mean, alternatively, if you don't think Rattler is ready now, when is he going to get ready? He's had half of last year. He's had all training camp this year. He's had all these reps with the ones. And, if you don't think he's ready now, maybe he won't be ready. And you could see this just being the Tyler Shough show to start. The Northern Saint says, which punter do we keep? It's interesting you say that. The Saints only punted once today. It was kind of a weird game. They only scored, 19 points. It's not like they lit up the scoreboard, but they only punted once today. They had a couple of fourth downs they went for it on. They kicked 4 field goals, 3 from Blake Grupe, 1 from Charlie Smith, who both look great, by the way. The kicking game is in good hands. But they only punted once, and it was Kai Kroger. It was like a pin 'em deep situation. It was they were almost at midfield. He kicked it 38 yards. That was all net. There was a fair catch, no return. Broncos were down at the 14, so it's a good punt, but it's just one. Kai Kroger also, this might be more notable. Kai Kroger was holding for Blake Grupe, and James Burnip was holding for Charlie Smith. So if we assume Blake Grupe is the starting kicker, then maybe that means that Kai Kroger is, the first team holder, which would mean he's also their first team punter. So if I had to guess, I would say Kai Kroger. But it's just interesting you say that, Northern Saint, because we didn't even get to see James Burnip today. The Saints only punted one time. It's just kind of weird. Like, I almost wonder when it was 4th and 12 and Haener threw that incompletion to end the game. Like, do you just send Burnip out there to punt just so you get a chance for him to punt? I don't know. I didn't think about it at the time, but maybe that would have been more valuable than letting Jake Haener skip one to Dante Pettis to maybe end his Saints career? ? I don't know. Jake Haener, just a quick word on him as the third string quarterback. I think the Saints will keep him just because I don't think they're going to go sign a veteran. And you want a third quarterback for emergencies. Assuming that both Shough and Rattler don't get hurt, I think Jake Haener may have taken his last snap in a Saints uniform today. I don't know. It's possible he comes back another year, gets another preseason. But it's also possible that even if he sticks around for the year, that next draft, the Saints are drafting somebody, and now you've got Shough, Rattler, and another rookie, and there's no room for Jake Haener. So very possible that Jake Haener took his last snap in a Saints uniform today in the fourth quarter. And I don't know. I mean, looks like he regressed to me. He did not look as good as he did last preseason. He did not look as good as he did even at the start of training camp. I mean, he was out there. It's like he was seeing ghosts out there, rushing through everything. And I think it's the end of the line for Jake Haener. Saints lose 28-19 to the Denver Broncos today. And that's it for the preseason. Boys and girls, we got 15 days to the start of the Saints 2025 regular season. And I'm going to go big picture here for a minute as we're waiting on Luke and Matt and Rod and Jeff. My big picture is that I think the Saints roster may be a little better than I thought it was at the start of camp. At least spots 4 through 53. Okay. Spots 1 through 3, I'm reserving for the quarterbacks, and I think they are worse than I expected. I thought that either Rattler or Shough might kind of take the bull by the horns and show us something, and I have not seen that. And so while the rest of the roster may be a little better than I thought, like the defense against the Broncos first teamers, they did give up a touchdown in 3 drives, but it was mostly, I think, positive things for them, for that first team defense. And I think the O-line, major depth concerns with the injuries, but the starting O-line should be okay if they can avoid further injuries. And the receivers look okay, especially with Devon Bailey in there. I think this roster is okay, except for the quarterback. Like, I know people are going to get upset when I say this, but if you put Derek Carr on this team, I'm looking at it and going, is it a 500 team? Is it a 7-10, 8-9 team? Maybe if things break right, the Saints make a run at the division, maybe. But the fact of the matter is Derek Carr is retired. He's tweeting about Shedeur Sanders during the game, and the Saints are playing without him. So, ifs and buts, candy and nuts, all that kind of stuff. The Saints have what they have. They did not choose to go sign a veteran. They have Spencer Rattler. They have Tyler Shough. One of these guys is going to start the regular season, and to me, that drags down the roster from 4 through 53 because I don't know what you do. From Jim, how tough is it doing this show without Jim Derry? Is that Jim Derry commenting? I need to know, Spencer. If that's actually Jim, then it's not tough at all. If it's not Jim, I miss Jim, and he can fill a lot of airtime, and so I do miss Jim Derry. But if that's Jim Derry, I would never admit that. It is Jim. Okay. No, it's not hard at all. Sit on your butt at home, Jim. Do whatever you're doing. Crafty 76. Shough has excellent ball placement. Maybe. We saw him throw consistently too high today. I saw that several times. He also has kind of this nifty little sidearm throw he does on these quick passes, and we saw a couple of those like hit guys in their hands. One of them was dropped. I can't remember who dropped it. Might have been Cedric Wilson, but he does have the ability to throw an accurate ball. I kind of think the sidearm is weird when you're a 6'5" guy. What's the point in dropping down? What's the point in being 6'5" if you're going to get down and like throw the ball down here? I don't know, but that's what he does. I mean, I see potential in Tyler Shough. And look, I think even if Spencer Rattler starts, he's going to get a chance. He is going to get a chance. Speaking of Jim, I keep looking over here and seeing movement out of the corner of my eye and thinking it's our guys and it's other people walking by. So I'm just going to keep going. And we'll talk a little bit about Cutdown Day, which is coming Tuesday. Saints have almost exactly 72 hours. It's about 71 hours now. And they will be cutting down the roster to 53 players. Who is your most surprising cut? I put a guy up there. The picture you see up there is Cedric Wilson. I think Cedric Wilson's in trouble. I don't think he's played very well in the preseason. And if you start counting out receivers, you're going to keep 5. Maybe you're going to keep 6. So you're keeping Olave, Shaheed, Brandon Cooks. I think you got to keep Mason Tipton. I think Mason Tipton's flashed enough to where if you want him on the roster, and if you don't keep him on the roster, somebody else is going to scoop him up. So that's 4. You just brought in Devon Vele. That's 5. There's no question you're keeping Devon Vele. So if you take those 5, you got to think, are they going to keep 6? And if they keep 6, is it Cedric Wilson or is it Dante Pettis, who gives you something in the return game? Is it Kevin Austin? I don't know. I don't think Cedric Wilson's the guy for me. I think it's Pettis, or you just go ahead and keep 5, or you keep Velus Jones as an extra running back who can flash in the return game. So that's a possibility as well. Northern Saint, does Kellen Moore have a time management issue? No, it's incomplete grade for me. I mean, there's just no way you can say he does or he doesn't based on the preseason. I just don't. I mean, you don't even know if these guys are honestly trying to win this game or do what's best. I'm curious to know, Northern Saint, what makes you think that? What did he do that makes you think that? Was it the 2-minute drive from Haener at the end, or was it last week when they scored too fast against the Jaguars? I don't know what makes you think that. I'm curious. But I say, even if there's some evidence of that in the preseason, we don't even know what their motivations are. Their motivations may be to, let's get into the locker room and not get hurt. It may be to, I want to put my guys in this specific situation and see how they do. They're not desperately trying to win every game as they will be in the regular season. So incomplete grade for me on time management. Let's see, Spencer's typing. We'll see if he has a response from Northern Saint here. Meanwhile, other 53-man thoughts. Anybody else could be cut. Let's see. Who could be cut? I think defensive tackle, even with the trade of Colin Saunders, you could see some interesting cuts there. They got a lot of bodies. Like you have Jonah Williams, who had a sack today, and you have Jonathan Bullard, and you have Nathan Shepard, and you've got Brian Brzee, and you've got Devon Godshaw and Christian Boyd, who had a big sack today of Sam Ehlinger. Like, I think you've got a lot of bodies there. And Christian Boyd was in the injury tent today, so that's a possibility. That I don't know what that injury was. We haven't gotten word on that. His hand. Norm, who's running the camera for us, says it was his hand. So we'll see what his situation is. But I think one of those guys I mentioned, probably Jonah Williams or Jonathan Bullard, one of those guys probably does not make the 53. Now, they could be one of those guys too. Sometimes you see with with veteran players, they don't need to go through the waivers process. So you can have a handshake agreement with them and say, hey, we're not going to include you on the 53, but we're going to sign you right back as soon as we make some moves with IR guys and everything else. And so, you are going to be on this team. Just hold tight. Don't break your lease or sell your house or anything like that. You're coming back. So that's an interesting thought too. from Norman Bell. Why are we keeping 2 kickers? I don't think they're going to keep them. Norman's smiling. He typed in a comment. I think Charlie Smith, they're going to try to sneak back on the practice squad. He is still eligible, by the way, for the international pathway program. Is that what it's called? Where because he's from Ireland and the Saints signed him directly from a foreign country, he can stay on the practice squad and not count against your 16-man practice squad limit. So they could keep him for another year. I think this is the last year they can do that. I think Charlie Smith may get swooped up by another team, though, because even though he doesn't count against the practice squad, he can be signed by another team. And it's hard to find a consistent kicker. Blake Grupe looks like he's one of the better kickers in the NFL. I mean, he honestly does. 3 field goal tries today, 56 yards, 49 yards, and 48 yards. He drilled all 3 with room to spare. I think all 3 were good from 60 yards. All were basically right down the middle. I mean, he is Mr. Automatic right now. You're not cutting that guy. And Charlie Smith, who was kind of inconsistent at the beginning of camp, looked a lot better at the end of camp. He hit a 52-yarder. And I think if there's teams around the league that have an injury at kicker or they're looking for some more consistency, I think they might look around and say, oh, the Saints have this Irish kid, and we're going to give him a shot. So I wouldn't be surprised if Charlie Smith goes bye-bye. Northern Saint says, can Moore manage his timeouts? Again, I'm curious as to – you may have a perfectly good example, Northern Saint, but I don't remember any time when he used one when I thought, what's he doing that for? I mean, it's the preseason. So I'm still giving him an incomplete on that. Let's wait and see for the regular season and what he does. Bruce Chappelle says our defense is going to be on the field the whole game again this year. That is a big concern because I do think this defense could be okay, but that is a big-time concern that they are they're just out there for 40 minutes every game because the offense can't stay on the field. And if that happens, these guys wear down, your pass rush wears down, guys in the secondary get tired of running around, your linebackers get tired of running around, and maybe a close game at halftime, a 10-7 game at halftime turns into 27-13 in the second half because you guys just wear down in the fourth quarter. Definitely could see that. I definitely agree with that. So we are live here on the Saints Insider post-game show, waiting for Matt, Luke, Rod, and Jeff from the locker room as I look longingly across the field to see if those guys are coming. We started the show a little bit late because I knew I didn't have Jim, and here I am still almost 30 minutes in. They're not here, so I don't know. There must be interesting stuff going on in the locker room. In fact, I'm gonna look and see if any of them have said anything on Twitter from the locker room that we can talk about. Kellen Moore says the Saints have no plans to add a veteran QB. So that's, I think that's probably about right. I don't think that's going to happen. Spencer Rattler says Sean Payton came up to him today and told him they are getting a hell of a receiver. That's a quote, a hell of a receiver in Devon Vele. So I think it's interesting. Payton made a specific comment about that. From Brian Bradshaw, if Sanders is cut from the Browns, do the Saints bring him in? That is a very interesting question. First of all, I believe the reporting around the Browns this morning is that they are planning on keeping all 4 of their quarterbacks on their initial 53-man roster, which is a kind of a rare move, but that lets me know that they want to hold on to both of those rookies, Sanders and Dylan Gabriel. I don't know if they're going to keep all 4 of them all year long, but I don't know, man. Let's just say hypothetically the Browns put Shedeur on the practice squad and expose him. The Saints could, I mean, I guess, but you had your chance at Shedeur Sanders. You chose Tyler Shough over him. Have you seen something from Shedeur in a couple of preseason games that says he's got to be I know he threw a couple touchdowns. He got sacked 5 times today. He didn't look very good. That's been the knock on him the whole time, is he can't throw the ball away, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think so. That would be interesting, though. So we'll keep an eye, but it does not look like it's going to happen regardless. So it would be very interesting. So what else do we have coming from the locker room? Again, Kellen Moore on the possibility of bringing in a veteran QB. He says, quote, we feel great about this group. We feel great about this group. So obviously, he's not interested in any kind of a veteran QB at this point. Carson Wentz is working out for the Vikings today. There's a veteran QB, but he's working out for the Vikings. Landon Young and Shane Lemieux both have ankle injuries. For Christian Boyd, as Norm said, it is the hand. So that's interesting as well. All right, I'll tell you what. We promised. Oh, here come the guys. I was just about to say we may have to end this thing early, but they are coming. Spencer Rattler on the incompletion to Rashid Shaheed. Oh, I want that one back. Threw it out of rhythm. All right. We are going to let the guys choose who comes in first here as I scoot over. It'll be Matthew Paris, our beat writer. A lengthy stay in the locker room. I've been talking a while here. What you talked to all 90 guys in there?
Exactly, yeah. No, Tyler Shough went 18 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Credit to him for,
Is that like a filibuster? I'm going to talk until Kelly names me the QB.
No, he answered every one of our questions, even on Quincy Riley and Trent Welsh, and we really peppered him, I guess.
My arm is sore, man. I'm holding this
Luke's
mic
foot
up.
was asleep walking over here, so. But I'm good. I'm good to go. I'm in the best shape of my life.
Yeah, there you go. Training camp, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We are we're persevering through here. Interesting. I mean, pretty obviously neither quarterback grabbed the bull by the horns today. Really haven't all preseason. Kellen Moore not ready to make a decision, says they're not bringing in a veteran QB. What do you do here?
Yeah, I think I would go with Shough just because it is really close. The Saints would benefit from seeing, him for a full season. Now, what I would do and what the Saints would do, I don't know if it's the same. And if they start Spencer Rattler, it's certainly a defensible decision. I mean, clearly he started 2 of the 3 games. He's taken a lot of the first team reps. I think they feel comfortable with where Spencer Rattler's at. It's just more so like the upside play of it.
Yeah.
I think is maybe what it would make sense. But, I thought both had okay days. None of them, like you said, grabbed the bull by the horns. But, Rattler made confident decisions against the Broncos defense that was really good. Shough didn't really find his rhythm until the 4th drive, and by that time, the Broncos' 3rd stringers are already in. So I do think there's context there, but ultimately I thought it was a draw today. The first game was clearly Shough. The second game was Rattler probably. He had that big moment at the end, and then today was kind of just a toss-up.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I read their full preseason stats. It's incredible. Shough had, I think, 10 more attempts, 6 more completions, and 40 more yards.
Right.
Rattler had 10 more rushing yards. They both had 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 1 lost fumble, and then Shough had the rushing touchdown. So, I mean, it is as even as could possibly be. It's crazy.
Yeah, neither of the none of the guys have either had the signature moment either. Maybe you could say Shough's 54-yard touchdown, but then Rattler had that long bomb to Tipton as well in the second game, and that had the game tying 2-point conversion and that drive. So Kellen Moore is just waiting for one of these guys to really sell it, and that just hasn't happened.
Elsewhere, we got to see most of the Saints first team out there today. A few guys banged up who didn't play, but for the most part, it's interesting because I came away thinking the Saints first team defense was pretty good against the Broncos, but they also gave up 10 points in 3 drives. So what do you make of it?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I thought Hicks is now a really good quarterback. Credit to him.
How did that happen?
Well, he was good last year, but he was pretty rough against these guys, even though that game was a blowout
on that Thursday
night. But some of the plays Kool-Aid McKinstry was caught in, maybe he would want those completions back. But they got pressure on him, which I thought was really encouraging. At one point, the Broncos starting running back was only averaging 1.4 yards a carry. The stuff that they have said is going to be better. The run defense, the pressure, that all looked better. And this team really needs its defensive line to kind of make that impact statement. And I thought you saw it a little bit, even if it wasn't it didn't lead to shutdown defense. You just need these guys to be better than they were last year. And I thought they showed signs of improvement at least.
Now, I thought the effort was really good. I mean, especially in the first couple of series. And it should be noted, the Broncos touchdown drive only really got going because of a pretty questionable penalty on Demario Davis, I thought. He kind of ran over a guy who stopped right in front of him, and you could argue whether he could have even stopped or not. So that's worth noting as well. Any other takeaways from today, Matt, as we go into Tuesday cutdowns?
Yeah, this offensive line depth is questionable with Landon Young getting carted off with an ankle injury. Shane Lemieux also has an ankle injury. I think Barry Wesley even got hurt at one point. Like, I tweeted out the list of like guys that they started camp with in terms of their backup offensive linemen, and a lot of them have just gotten hurt, and it's they've had to address it already, and I wouldn't be surprised if they address it again after Tuesday cuts are made.
Yeah, I think if you are an O lineman who gets cut, you should be researching rental houses in New Orleans. So,
Right.
Or maybe they'll just have tryouts. I don't know.
Right,
Maybe so. Anything else leading into cut day? You have a 53-man roster projection that's, I think, going to go live either tonight or tomorrow morning on NOLA.com/Saints, so we can check that out. Who's your most surprising cut?
I don't know if it's surprising, but I did have Isaiah Foskey get cut. I think it's his time to, they gave him every chance to try and make this roster. Today, even, I just thought he just doesn't have it.
He batted down a pass there at the end, and I thought, oh my God, he did.
Right.
We have a stat for Isaiah Foskey. But yeah, he's just kind of Mr. Invisible. What about at receiver? Who made the cut at receiver?
I had them keeping 6. Cedric Wilson was unfortunately the odd man out because of the Devon Bailey trade, but I think Dante Pettis, I thought it was pretty telling. He was the punt returner, first guy up there. Like, I think keep 6 with him in the returner role. And I think the two toughest positions for me were the interior of the defensive line, and then linebacker. I have them keeping 5 linebackers. I think I had Jalen Ford over Isaiah Stallbird and Nephi Sewell, but I don't feel great about that. And then the one for me I just couldn't figure out was Jonathan Bullard. Do you keep him? Do you go with Jonah Williams, or do you keep neither of those two and then add like a 5th edge rusher and Fadil Diggs? I think has also had a pretty nice camp. And do you want to keep the draft pick? So defensively, I think there are some big questions. Offense, it wasn't as tough, but I also don't know now with Landon Young's injury, is it serious enough to where, they're going to have to put him on injured reserve, and does that free up a spot for someone?
Yeah. All right, he's Matthew Paris. You can check out his stuff at NOLA.com/Saints. We will let him go and bring in our other beat writer, Luke Johnson. Luke Johnson is here. He of the asleep foot. You're all recovered? Good.
It took me the whole walk across the field, man. I don't. Is this like 40? Is this 40?
Yeah.
About to turn 40 years old, and my foot is asleep for 80 yards.
Every time I feel a new pain, I play the temporary or permanent game. So that's where you're at.
Times over here.
All right. Speaking of guys who are not quite 40, but Tyler Shough. I'm just kidding.
Oh my goodness! Come on, man.
He's 20. He's still only 25. He and Spencer Rattler, they battled to a draw today. I don't know how else you say it.
Yeah. It's going to be like we've been talking about this whole preseason. It's going to be a holistic decision, right? They're going to look at literally everything, and we're kind of banding about whether today really could swing the decision one way or another. And even if it could have, it didn't. So, I still feel like Spencer Rattler is going to start week 1, but I still feel like Tyler Shough is going to have to start at least half the games this season. They got to see what they got in him, unless Rattler just goes out there and blows everybody away and he's their quarterback of the future.
Right. If he gets out there and starts 5-2 or something,
I'm not going to bench him at that point, right? But I think the most realistic scenario is Spencer Rattler starts week 1. Tyler Shough comes in there at some point and finishes off the season. Or, if Tyler just clearly doesn't have it, then they got to go in 2026 figuring out this thing again. So I think that's the direction this is headed. But, who knows? There is stuff that is unseen for us. Right? We're evaluating this off of not knowing the play calls, not knowing what is super important to Kellen Moore. He could be like, well, it's really close, so let's just start the guy we drafted in the second round. That could absolutely be the way it goes.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because we are getting a very limited sample size, and I think people who just watch the preseason games, it's even more limited. Just like Sunday, we talked about the Chris Olave drop, and if he catches that pass, does that change the way you view Tyler Shough's day? And today, Spencer Rattler misses Rashid Shaheed on a post up the seam. If he hit him in stride, that might have been a touchdown.
I think that would have been 6.
Yeah. And instead of what was he? 5 for 8 for 43 yards. Spencer Rattler would then be 6 for 8 for 80 something yards and a touchdown. Right. And we're like, but does one play really make that big of a difference? It's hard to say.
Yeah. And again, this is like, okay, it's are they throwing the ball on time and rhythm on target? Are they getting the offense in the right play? You know, they have kills at the line of scrimmage. Are they making the right calls? Are they doing the right? Are making the right reads on read options? Are they handling the huddle? Are they handling pressure? Like, there's so many different things that go into this decision. And like Moore, as a former quarterback, knows exactly what he's looking for, but he's not going to tell us exactly what he's looking for.
Right.
So ultimately, it's going to come down to him. But again, I think there's a good chance we just see both of these guys throughout the course of the season.
It continues. It just continues.
It will never stop. Quarterback battle 2025. Let's go.
Yeah. 53-man roster day is Tuesday. Any surprises you see on the horizon from this, or where are the toughest decisions?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, there's tough decisions at linebacker. I think you got 3 guys who are, I think, 100% locks, in DeMario, Pete, and Danny Stutzman. And then after that, it's how many do they keep? And then they got some tough decisions among those guys. I think Jalen Ford's flashed. DeMarco Jackson's played a lot with like the first team defense, with DeMario and Pete being held out of the first 2 preseason games. Nephi Sewell has been a core special teamer. Isaiah Stalbert has made a lot of really nice plays on special teams. I think he's leading the team in special teams tackles right now. They're going to have some difficult cuts there. I heard Matt talking about it, but defensive line is going to be tough. Yeah. Edge is going to be tough.
Yeah.
Look, a guy that we saw for the first time today, Jashin Davis, you know, he has a sack. He has another sack on a 2-point conversion. You know, the miracle crazy touchdown pass that Denver had in the fourth quarter, it was Jashin Davis forcing him to make this crazy back foot throw because he's chasing him 20 yards downfield. So, you know, he's a guy, I don't see him keeping on the 53, but like, how many are they keeping there? You got 3 guys who are locks. Are they keeping Chris Rumpf? Are they keeping Fadil Diggs? Are they keeping Jashin Davis? I don't think Isaiah Foskey is going to make the teams. All 3 of those guys have outplayed him during the preseason and training camp. So I just think there's a lot of positions like that where they've got enough intriguing guys where it's going to make it really tough.
Big picture, grade the Saints preseason. Give them an A through F grade here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give them a C-.
Oof,
that's rough, man. But like,
is that because of the quarterback? Because they just can't figure it out?
I just like I don't feel any better about this team right now than I did going into it. And like, a lot of that is they rested a lot of their starters. I mean, for much of this preseason, I was really impressed by the first team defense today. I think that was really encouraging. I think those guys can be feisty. But like, it's going to be tough to maintain that if they're getting like substandard offensive play.
Right.
And it's really hard to be excited about this offense right now when you just haven't seen it. Yeah, we haven't seen it in camp or the preseason. It's like, I don't know how you can be optimistic about what's going to happen in the regular season. You know, it feels like an offense is going to really struggle to average 18 points a game. I hope I'm wrong. But, you know, if they're going 3 and out a bunch or not sustaining drives, it's going to be really, really hard for that defense to keep things up over the course of a full game.
Absolutely. Well, he's Luke Johnson. He kept things up all the way across the field, even with an asleep foot, and now he will get back up to the press box. Just like Alvin Kamara, man. That man worked hard in these preseason games.
One snap?
Good for you, but he sold that ball fake.
He sure did.
All right.
Alvin's going to have a good year.
Yeah, he is. We're going to make the handoff to Jeff Duncan here. I'm also going to check to see if we have any other comments. Rolling in, Charles Broom, is the footing worse in the Dome this year? They have new turf in here for the Super Bowl, so maybe, but I don't.
I asked about it this week. He said no, he didn't feel like there was anything wrong with the playing surface at all. But it is new turf.
Yeah, I think it was new for the Super Bowl, right? So it's
this is new. This will be new.
New for this year. Okay. Kendall says Rattler solidified himself as the backup quarterback today. I don't know if anybody solidified anything today, but what do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, spoiler alert, I'm going to write my column on the quarterback situation, and I'm pretty much going to say that Spencer Rattler needs to be the starter for the opener. I think it's pretty clear right now that he's a little bit ahead of Tyler Shough, but I don't think that's any type of death knell for Tyler Shough. Matter of fact, I think he is probably the long-term answer, or the long-term situation favors him. But right now, I think mainly because of Spencer Rattler's ability to scramble. I know we saw Shough today use his legs a little bit. I think that's an underrated aspect of his game. But I think Rattler's earned the right to start in week one. And I think he's earned the right to have a little bit of a runway as well. But it's a tough call. I mean, I don't think either one of them has really shined in any way. I don't think either one of them's played poorly, but as Luke was saying earlier, it's really hard to get excited about this team from what we've seen in preseason. As a matter of fact, I've got that column coming out where all our preseason predictions of all the local media. I bet I had a half dozen of them come up to me wanting to lower their predictions.
Oh man!
After they've turned
and
them in.
they were not high to begin with. And
right.
Spoiler alert: you can check it out this week when it publishes on NOLA.com. But like, people are not optimistic about this team, and I said this earlier. I don't know if you agree. I actually feel slightly better about the roster 4 through 53. Like, I saw some things from the defense today. I think we're okay. I think the O-line and injuries are a problem, but the starters okay. But it's those first through 3 spots that if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a very good team in the NFL.
No, that's a good point. I think the other aspect of this is I think Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shough have talent. Don't get me wrong. They're just inexperienced, and that's a bad recipe when you go in to an NFL season without really much of a track record and your team around you is not that talented. So you can't really hide. There's nowhere to hide the quarterback. Eventually he's going to have to make a play on third down to bail out maybe a poor running attack, or he's going to get caught up in a shootout because the defense can't stop, the other team. And it starts to snowball on the quarterback.
Yeah.
So I think they've got ability, but there's going to be some real growing pains as this season gets going. The word I've been using to neighbors and friends that ask me about it is patience. I know that's hard to have in this day and age, but you're going to have patience this season because I think there's going to be some really tough stretches for this team.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up is Cutdown Day on – actually, before we get to that, let's talk about the defense real quick because this is the first time we saw essentially the Saints' first team unit. No Alontae Taylor, but other than that, I think it was every starter who was out there. And even though they did give up the touchdown drive to the Broncos eventually, like, you needed a couple of Cortland Sutton all-pro type plays to make that happen, and the penalty also on Damari Davis to keep the drive alive, which was questionable. Play in and play out, I thought this defense looked pretty good against a playoff team from the year ago.
Yeah, it looked to me like Sean was trying to run the ball at them and kind of set the tone early on, which is what he likes to do. And they couldn't do it. They couldn't run the ball at all on the Saints, especially between the tackles. They pretty much abandoned the run with that first team unit and went to the passing game because the Saints were doing such a good job against the run. We've seen that in practice throughout training camp. It's been a really improved aspect of this team. So I think that's one area that they're definitely going to be better with Devon Godshaw, with the way Chase Young has been playing on the edge. This front seven is more physical. And I think this scheme also helps a lot. I think the 3-4 scheme, it's difficult to run it on. And now you got to hold up on the back end, and that's where the Broncos were able to attack.
Yeah, Kool-Aid McKinstry beat a couple of times by Sutton, and we'll see how that develops. But Cutdown Day is next, 53-man roster. Any surprises that you see coming or the toughest decisions out there?
Look, I think if you were at home watching this game, it's going to be pretty simple. Pretty evident who's going to make the team and who isn't. I mean, Cam Akers is out there on the last drive. That's not a good sign for Cam Akers. I mean, I expect him to probably be released. I think anybody that was playing in the last 2 or 3 drives probably not going to be on this roster going forward. I think the biggest challenge they're going to have is deciding that they want to keep, say, a 4th tight end or a 6th wide receiver. It's going to be that kind of thing. Who's going to help more on special teams when they try to put together a 48-man game day active roster? Who's going to make that up? Who's going to help them in a game? Is it going to be their 4th tight end or their 6th receiver or their 4th running back? That's really what it comes down to. But I think this team is going to be very active, Zach, at the cut-down date. I think they're going to be churning this roster at the bottom throughout the season because it needs to be churned. I mean, there's not a lot of depth on this team, and I think they could use some veteran help at tight end, running back, some other spots. And obviously they've had a lot of injuries at the offensive line. I think they're going to have to get some help there because I think they've got 5 guys now injured at some point, to some extent on the offensive line.
Yeah, the the 53-man roster on Tuesday will not be the 53-man roster,
Right.
probably even on Thursday. Like, you're going to see some moves pretty quickly. So he's Jeff Duncan. You can read his column at NOLA.com and in the morning Times-Picayune. We'll let him hand off to our last man of the show, Rod Walker here. Here comes Rod. Hustling over in the Jordans, yeah. A man is better to have died as a young boy than fumble the microphone. I think John Heisman said that. Okay, Rod, your takeaway from these quarterbacks. I mean, if you have two quarterbacks, I guess you have none, is the old adage. Speaking of old adages.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just think, we went through 3 preseason games and an entire training camp, and I don't think either one of these guys, like at some point we thought one of them would separate themselves and be like, okay, this is the clear starter. I mean, I still think Rattler is a starter, but it stayed close throughout camp. Like, it just, I think it was just 2 quarterbacks who were okay, but nobody grabbed the reins like we were expecting them to.
And maybe that's good in a way that, Tyler Shough did keep it close enough, and you have Rattler to kind of allow Shough to continue to grow throughout the first half of the season. And then when you feel like he's ready, you do have to see at some point what he's got.
Yeah, I think you want to see if he's their guy for the future. I mean, they spent a second-round draft pick on him, so you want to see that. But for me, like, you go into this season with 2 guys, and let's say you think the Saints are going to win 5 games this year, I think regardless of who starts this season, you're still going to be either going to win 5 games. Neither one of these guys pushes you up to say, oh, yeah, they might win 2 more games since he's the starter. I think they're pretty dead even.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, Rattler's experience obviously helps him. He has that 1 year under his belt, but outside of that, there's not a whole lot of separation between the 2 for me.
Now, having said that, when the Saints and Broncos both had their first team units out there, which is, I think, about 3 drives each. Broncos D might have only been 2 drives, but about 3 drives each. This game was fairly even. Like, the Saints defense held up. Rattler in the offense, they scored on a couple of field goals. Like, it wasn't spectacular. They missed the big opportunity to Shough, but like, it wasn't like they were getting run off the field.
No, they weren't. I thought that was really a positive for this game, and I kind of mentioned it in my 3 things that we learned from this game. I thought for those first 3 series, the Saints defense played well. They did get the 43-yard play away of the big pass play there, but outside of that, I mean, the run game looks good. The run defense looks good, which it didn't last year or the year before that. So That's promising to see that they may be able to stop the run this year, and that'll give them some opportunities to be better than they have been. So I think the defense was promising, and I think the offense, they were okay. The pass to Shough obviously I think he would have scored on that play probably, and that maybe changes things, sort of like Olave dropping the pass last week changed things on but Tyler Shough as a quarterback.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then the first team offense, like, we saw Kendra Miller run the ball pretty consistently. Olave and Shough putting themselves in good positions. Like, if you don't have to squint too hard to see this working at times.
Yeah, I think there's some potential here. It's going to boil down to the offensive line. They obviously got 2 more guys injured today with ankle injuries, and that's going to be a problem if they can't block. But, I mean, today they weren't starters. I mean, it was 2 backups. I mean, that's probably okay. But, yeah, that's going to be a concern of mine. And, I mean, here I was 3 weeks ago talking about how great this offensive line was. And, hey, that's going to be the strength of the team. And now I'm concerned about them. And you need them to play well for these quarterbacks, for these young quarterbacks to play well.
Yeah, you just never know from the beginning of camp even to the end of camp how much things. And on that note, we'll end here. If you go big picture with me, if you give the Saints a grade for their preseason based on your expectations coming in where they are here.
I'm probably going – did you ask everybody else?
I just asked Luke, and I'm curious to know how you're –
I think I'm probably going – I'm going to go C probably. I mean, I don't know.
C-, so
okay,
yeah. I personally would have said C+. But so we're all
I'm just going to go straight C.
Yeah.
I won't do the plus or minus, but, yeah, I don't know if I think the defense probably looks better than I would have thought coming into the offseason. I mean, and I think the offense probably looks a little worse. I think they're – I mean, when we see Alvin Kamara play, I mean, he only – played 1 series or 1 play, whatever he did today. But,
1 play.
Yeah, but once he, when he's in the offense, I think he makes things better, obviously. But if that line's not going to be good, then, yeah, it's going to be trouble. So I'll give him a C for the offseason for sure.
It's the quarterback, man.
Yeah.
You got to have a quarterback to have a chance. Unless you've got – I mean, okay, Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl with a defense with 5 Hall of Famers on it. That's not the situation. So you got to figure out the quarterback.
Yeah, and I mean, somebody asked Kellen Moore after the game, like, is there a chance you bring in a veteran to kind of, to help this quarterback room? He said, no, we like the guys we have. So Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shough, that's what they're rolling with, and We'll
Ride
see
or die,
we'll see how it plays out.
We'll see if it's ride or if it's die and how quickly that happens. So he's Rod Walker. Also, thanks to Matthew Paris, Luke Johnson, and Jeff Duncan for coming on the Saints Insider postgame show. Norman Bell operated the camera. Spencer Urquhart behind the scenes producing. And we thank you most of all for joining us. We'll have a podcast at some point this week, whether it's a 53-man reaction or a starting quarterback being named reaction or whatever. And then we'll be back on the Saints Insider feed regardless. We'll see you then.